You're likely familiar with micromanagement, but are you as familiar with macromanagement? If micromanagement is a helicopter boss, the mosquito buzzing around your head watching what you're doing and needing an explanation for what you're doing at all times of every day, macromanagement is the satellite boss. You know they're there somewhere beyond what you can see. Maybe you'll catch a glimpse of them every once in a while. Their name comes up here and there. Maybe you see them attending a group meeting. You receive a note if something needs to be taken care of. But for the most part, macromanagers are not present. If you've suffered under micromanagers or wished for independence and autonomy, a macromanager might sound like a desirable trait to seek in a boss. If you're a leader yourself, you may want to be a macromanager because you've suffered under a micromanager and you don't want to do that to your team. But the danger with macromanagement is very similar to that of micromanagement, and it often feels like a bit like maneuvering a minefield. Macromanaging leaders often think they are letting their team be independent and autonomous, but what ends up happening is they run unchecked. They end up making little mistakes and never being corrected, so it becomes a pattern. Or they decide they don't like the set process, or maybe they were never even taught the process, so they figure out their way of doing it that kind of works. Macromanaging your team is like a bowling alley with no gutters or breaks between any of the lanes, or it's like a Hot Wheels track without walls on the track. They're still working. That bowling ball will eventually reach the end of the lane, and that Hot Wheels car will go down the track and keep going. They end up with the same general outcome and maybe even the desired outcome, but because the process and direction wasn't in place, they have no idea how to repeat it. Your employees are left with a lack of decision making, and they end up floundering to find a decision, or they make up their own solution. Without leadership or guidance, because your leadership should come with knowledge and experience, they will be making poor decisions, especially when they need immediate assistance or they're under pressure. The worst outcome of macromanagement is a lack of relationship with your employees. They only see you when something is wrong, or you've received a complaint from upper management, or they're getting fired. You show up to deliver bad news. You become an icon of anxiety and stress. None of your employees will ever be honest with you because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. They won't respect your leadership. How could they possibly know what I do for my job? I'm not sure if they even know my name. When your employee does something wrong, they'll be defensive because they didn't have direction. When you compliment them, they may brace for a but and the bad news because that's all you ever give. Upper management often suffers from the appearance of macromanagement because of the level of disconnect between them and your frontline workers. Sometimes this is strategic. You don't want your frontline workers undermining or going around their manager to talk to you. And if that happens, you need to offer correction and make sure they're going through the right process. This is why it's important for your supervisors and your managers to have a relationship with their managers, so important things can be discussed. Your name can be brought up often, and even if you're not involved in every intricate decision, there is the appearance of care. If you're in upper management, you not only need to build relationships with your managers and your supervisors, but you also need to know their teams and ask about them. When someone moves on or leaves for a different company, upper management should reach out to them and thank them for their work and wish them well. That shouldn't just come from their direct manager or human resources. That should come from upper management. When a compliment is received, your upper management should be made aware so they can also reach out to the frontline worker and thank them for doing a great job. This will not only show your employees that they are valued, but it'll help you understand the needs of your supervisors and managers better because you are building relationships with the people they manage. At its best, macromanagement is providing your team the freedom and independence to work on their own and figure out their problems with each other. At its worst, macromanagement is disinterest in your employees. You don't value them, you don't know them, you don't know what they're doing, and you don't care. The only time you talk to them is when you're delivering bad news, and they will come to fear and disrespect you because you never bothered to build a relationship with them. They will leave you to find a manager who cares about them and values them as an individual, and you'll hardly remember their name. Then you'll wonder why your turnover rate is so high. Macromanagement is the enemy of innovation and creativity. New ideas don't get brought to you or are implemented without your knowledge. Needs and gaps aren't being communicated to you because you're never available to know what's going on, and every directive comes from higher up. Levels that have even less knowledge of what the front line is doing. In both micromanagement and macromanagement, your employees suffer. They lose connection with their manager, they don't feel valued, and they have more reason to leave you and find another job.